Well, you know what? I tell you what, every single week I have to bring you a new bombshell story, don't I? Because £1.4 billion of your money has been spent on the NHS not net zero programmes. Now, get this. That includes solar panels, low-carbon boilers. Get this. Eco-friendly pain relief and eco-friendly surgery. What the hell is even that? And insanely, this also includes the rolling out of blue plates and bowls as part of the net zero trickery to drive patients into eating more hospital food. I don't know, I think it just put me off my food, to be quite frank with you. And how can we forget about those electric ambulances, the same ambulances that can lose between 25 and 40% of their range during the winter? The NHS says they have reduced emissions equivalent to 1 million people flying from London to New York. Well, I think the Mayor of London might have made those miles up. But they also forget to mention that NHS England employees had taken more than 150 domestic flights in the first 5 months after they were supposedly meant to be banned. Interesting, that, isn't it? And guess what? Not a single one of those programmes failed to cut NHS emissions. It's a total farce. In fact, emissions are up over the last year. And meanwhile, the NHS backlog has risen 3 months in a row now to 7.41 million. A&E leaders are preparing for the worst this winter, the worst on record, they're saying. And guess what? Your junior doctors will stage yet another 5-day walkout this month, with other staff threatening to follow suit. What a disaster. End the net zero farce now.
Your personal data could be exposed right now without you even knowing it. And if you want it removed, use incogni.com/GBNews in the description now and get 60% off an annual plan on us. Incogni reach out to the data brokers on your behalf and request that your information be deleted from their databases. And they'll keep sending removal requests to make sure your data stays gone. Sometimes your information ends up on strange, obscure websites that automated tools just can't reach. And that's why Incogni just launched their unlimited plan with a feature called custom removals. With this, you can submit any link where your personal information appears, literally paste in the URL, and their privacy team will investigate and work to get it removed. And getting started is super easy. Hit the link in the description, create an Incogni account, and tell them whose data you want removed. Grant them permission to work on your behalf, and then all you've got to do is sit back and relax. They'll keep you updated along the way. Incogni is totally risk-free for 30 days. If you try it, it's not for you, you'll get a full refund. So take back control of your personal data today with Incogni. Use our code GBNews at checkout via the link in the description, and you'll get 60% off an annual plan.
I could not agree more. I mean, obviously, I've got a lot of skin in this game because I see day to day how good or bad the NHS is, and let me tell you, it's just bad. And it's not getting any better. I don't care what anybody says. But as I said to you earlier, I went back and had a look at some of the failed projects. You know, they've wasted 12.4 million on their national IT legacy programme, 30 million in Scotland when they scrapped the National Care Service plans, 10 billion on PPE that was unusable. Michelle, can we have our money back, please? £3 billion a year on agency staff. If we just trained our own staff and paid them well enough and treated them well enough, we wouldn't need those agency staff. £3 billion on an IT maintenance. The list is endless.
Can I ask you, because I saw a report that actually the other day that foreign doctors are being used in the UK rather than actually doctors that could be qualified and doctors and nurses that be qualified here in the UK because they're cheaper.
We have 30,000 doctors who can't get a training place. Because the way that we're running the system now, and this is all really stemmed from, we used to run a system with doctors where the better you did in your exams and your performances, the more chance you had of getting a job of your choice. They scrapped that because it wasn't fair, because if you've got winners, you've got losers, and no one's allowed to lose. What that now means is I could apply for a job and they say, OK, you can have it, but it's in Perth. And then I'd say no thanks.
Well, this is it.
But a foreign doctor will go, well, OK, then I'd rather be anywhere than nowhere.
Can I make one more thing before I pass it on to Kai to tell me I'm a lunatic? We were constantly told, aren't we, that actually we need all these foreigners to come into the country to fill up our NHS. But actually, if we'd allowed the population growth to, just flatline like it needs to do every now and then, well, surely we wouldn't need all these new doctors and nurses. Again, it's the same argument we have with police and prisons, isn't it? The more people you bring into the country, well, guess what? The more doctors and nurses you need. And this is part of the problem, isn't it? Migration demands more migration because it's a never-ending cycle, Kai.
Look, there's a lot of things in there. I don't know where to start. But look, every pound that's not spent on energy bills, right, is money that can be spent on reducing the waiting times, on improving care across the NHS. The reason why emissions haven't dropped as much in that period, Alex, as you know, is the NHS has grown, the money it spends has grown, and the amount, actually, the emissions per pound spent in the NHS has gone down. So something's working, it's starting to work. The electric ambulances saving £59 million a year, right?
The NHS is spending more money than ever before.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So
but what's
the
that?
point?
But what's that?
What's
but
the
this.
point?
So what's that to do with net zero? Because actually, most of this spending, number one, was done under the previous government anyway. But actually, most of the spending now is targeted at reducing that cost and doing it in a green way. What's not to like?
It's not working.
What's not to like?
It's not working.
Doing it in agreement.
It is working.
No, they have not reduced emissions at all.
Because, as I just told you, the reason why.
But also, we have to actually look at what they're using to reduce emissions. Things like solar panels. Let's not forget the Bovea scandal that was it was last year now, wasn't it, where they were putting feed additives to make the cows produce less methane. Now, cows are literally walking, mooing fertilisers. They are the most climate-friendly animal out there. The solar panels we saw with, I can't remember what storm it was, but you remember we had that big storm, and all the solar farms were completely obliterated. All of those PVC panels have forever chemicals that go into the ground. All of the vegetable farms and fruit farms, instead of focusing on meat, you need more pesticides. This is also damaging to the surrounding nature of the birds, insects, soil degradation. These are all important things that especially mainstream climate activists just completely bypass.
Yeah, I mean, we need to have a more sensible approach on the energy mix in this country, and I do think that might mean, renewing new licenses for oil and gas and stuff like that, but to try and keep, to hold back the tide on renewable, on wind, on solar, geothermal, nuclear, that is a joke. And net zero, that you all claim to hate, that is going to get us out of quite a big hole that we're in at the minute.
It's getting us
Sorry.
into
Run out of time.
Oh.
So I think you just agreed with us, but that's where I'm going to leave it. But it's important to say that an NHS spokesman said greener initiatives are always focused on delivering better value for money and better care for patients. Yeah. Electric vehicles are cutting emissions, maintenance and fuel costs, saving the health service around £59 million a year that can be reinvested in frontline care, whilst wider energy efficiency work across the NHS buildings continues to reduce waste and bills. So Kai obviously read their statement before the show.
Yeah, prepared.
Anyway,
how about that?
Up next.